Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that every struggle in your life, every physical ailment, every moment of confusion and pain stems from a single horrifying truth. One that isn't even your fault. You realize that your trembling hands, your difficulty breathing, your clouded thoughts all trace back to decisions made before you were even born. Your parents, driven by an obsession with keeping bloodlines pure, have condemned you to a life of suffering. You discover that your mother is your cousin, your father is your uncle, your grandmother is also your great-aunt. The family tree doesn't branch, it's a twisted vine choking itself in its own coils. You are not the product of love, but of a calculated breeding program designed to preserve power and wealth with no regard for the human cost. This isn't fiction. This was reality for countless women throughout history, trapped in a web of genetic destiny they never chose. Welcome to Empress Secrets, where we uncover the hidden truths of history's most powerful yet forgotten women, whose stories have been buried under the weight of crowns and thrones. Before we dive into these tales of survival and suffering, I need your help to keep their voices alive. If you're fascinated by the untold stories of the past, please hit that like button, share this video with others who love history, and subscribe to Empress Secrets for more content that brings these shadows into the light. Drop a comment below to let me know where you're watching from. I'm amazed how we're connected across the globe, exploring these ancient stories together. Your support fuels this journey, so let's honor these women by ensuring their stories are heard. To understand the suffering of these women, we must unravel the twisted logic that created it. For centuries, European royalty believed that marrying within their own bloodlines would preserve their divine right to rule. They saw their blue blood as purer, more sacred, blessed by God himself. By the 16th century, European royal families were a sprawling web of cousins marrying cousins, uncles marrying nieces, and even siblings producing children destined to rule empires. They didn't understand, or refused to acknowledge, that they were weaving a genetic nightmare that would haunt generations. The Habsburg family of Austria and Spain was the epicenter of this self-inflicted disaster. Their motto, "Let others wage wars, you happy Austria marry," encapsulated their strategy. But these marriages were far from happy. They were calculated genetic traps that produced some of history's most tragic figures. Let's step into the life of Maria Anna of Austria, born in 1634 in Vienna's Hofburg Palace. Her birth is celebrated, but the Habsburg curse is already etched into her genes, the result of generations of cousins marrying cousins. Her family tree is not a tree but a noose, strangling her from the moment she draws breath. Maria Anna's childhood is a study in suffering. While other children run and play, she struggles to walk. Her spine curves unnaturally, forcing her into a hunched posture that makes breathing a labored task. Her jaw protrudes so severely that eating solid food is a daily ordeal. Servants cut her meat into tiny pieces, and meals become exhausting exercises in careful chewing and cautious swallowing. Yet her physical pain is only half the story. The psychological torment of understanding why she suffers is far worse. Surrounded by portraits of her ancestors, Maria Anna sees her own deformities reflected in their faces: an uncle with the same protruding jaw, a grandmother with the same curved spine. She realizes with chilling clarity that she is not unique but the latest victim in a long line of genetic catastrophe. Palace physicians, with their bloodletting and prayers, offer no relief. They whisper of the Habsburg curse behind closed doors but never to her face. To her they speak of mysterious ailments and God's will, never admitting the truth. Her suffering is the direct result of her family's obsession with bloodline purity. Maria Anna's days are spent in dim rooms, curtains drawn to shield her from the world and the world from her. Her body may be frail, but her mind is sharp. She turns to books, devouring stories of worlds where bloodlines don't dictate destiny, where people marry for love, not lineage. In literature, she finds escape from a body that feels like a prison. But reality always intrudes. Court physicians examine her regularly, documenting her deformities with cold detachment. They measure her spine's curve, her jaw's protrusion, her limbs' weakness. She becomes a case study, a living example of genetic failure. Loneliness is her constant companion. Potential suitors, also her cousins, recoil at her appearance. Marriage negotiations begin and end swiftly once her condition is known. She remains unwed not by choice but by circumstance. Even in a world where cousin marriage is normal, her deformities are too severe to ignore. Maria Anna dies at 32, her body succumbing to the weight of genetic damage. Her death certificate lists vague ailments, but the true cause is unspoken. Generations of her ancestors chose power over humanity, purity over compassion. If Maria Anna's story moves you, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Empress Secrets. Comment below what strikes you most about her resilience. Your support keeps these stories alive. Now let's travel to Spain to the tragic tale of Joanna of Castile, known as Juana la Loca, Joanna the Mad. Born in 1479 to Isabella and Ferdinand, the Catholic monarchs who reshaped Spain, Joanna seemed destined for greatness. Instead, she became a cautionary tale of the price of keeping bloodlines pure. Her parents were cousins, part of the same tangled web of European royalty. In her childhood, she showed no signs of madness. She was intelligent, fluent in multiple languages, and well-educated. But the seeds of her destruction were already planted in her genes. Her marriage to Philip the Handsome of Burgundy, arranged to strengthen political alliances, became her undoing. Philip was unfaithful and manipulative, and Joanna's intense, obsessive love for him was interpreted as madness. But was it? Raised to believe marriage and motherhood were her sacred duties, Joanna's world crumbled when her marriage became a source of pain. Philip's death in 1506 pushed her grief into something darker. She refused to bury him, travelling across Spain with his coffin, opening it to kiss his decomposing corpse. Horrifying, yes, but it speaks to her isolation, her desperate need for connection in a world that offered her none. Her father, Ferdinand, and later her son, Charles V, used her madness as an excuse to imprison her. For 46 years, Joanna lived in the royal convent of Santa Clara in Tordesillas, confined in dark, cold rooms with minimal food and no hygiene. Her attendants reported screams, torn clothes, and weeks without washing. Was she truly mad, or was she driven to madness by isolation, abuse, and a genetic predisposition to mental illness? Modern historians lean toward the latter, suggesting her behavior stemmed from severe depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress, worsened by inbreeding-related vulnerabilities. Joanna's family tree shows patterns of mental illness. Her great-grandmother and daughter Catherine exhibited similar struggles. Her death in 1555, still imprisoned, was barely noted. She was erased as an inconvenient madwoman, not a victim of a system that valued power over people. Let's keep Joanna's story alive. If you're moved by her tragedy, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to Empress Secrets. Comment below. Do you think Joanna was mad or a victim of her circumstances? Your engagement helps us honor her legacy. Next, we enter the golden halls of the Spanish court, where Margaret Theresa, born in 1651, carries the weight of empire in her frail body. The daughter of Philip IV of Spain and his niece, Mariana of Austria, Margaret Theresa is another victim of Habsburg inbreeding. Her childhood is immortalized in Diego Velázquez's paintings, which show a child dressed in elaborate gowns, her face hinting at the Habsburg jaw and vacant eyes that suggest developmental delays. Her life was never her own. Promised in marriage to her uncle, Leopold I, Holy Roman Emperor at the age of 3, she was a political tool from birth. Her education in languages, music, and dance was designed to make her a suitable bride, not a fulfilled person. At 15, she married Leopold, a man old enough to be her father, and literally her father's brother. The marriage was a diplomatic triumph but a personal tragedy. Margaret Theresa was expected to produce heirs immediately, despite her frail health. Her pregnancies were marked by miscarriages and infant deaths, each loss weakening her further. Modern doctors would recognize her symptoms, anemia, respiratory issues, possible epilepsy, as hallmarks of inbreeding-related disorders. She died in 1673 at 21, her body exhausted by genetic defects and childbirth. The court mourned the loss of a potential heir producer, not the young woman whose life was sacrificed. Margaret Theresa's story is a call to action. If you're inspired to learn more, like, share, and subscribe to Empress Secrets. Comment below. What do you think her life could have been like without these pressures? Your support ensures her story isn't forgotten. We now journey to Versailles, where Anna of Austria, born in 1601, struggles with the hidden costs of her Habsburg heritage. The daughter of Philip III of Spain and his niece, Margaret of Austria, Anna was another product of uncle-niece marriage. Her childhood in Madrid was marked by developmental delays, a protruding jaw, and severe anxiety and depression, conditions that plagued many Habsburg women. At 14, she married Louis XIII of France to cement peace between Spain and France. Thrust into a foreign court, she faced a cold, distant husband and immense pressure to produce heirs. Her first pregnancies ended in miscarriages or infant deaths, and court physicians blamed her, subjecting her to painful treatments like bloodletting and purging. No one considered that her genetic inheritance might be the cause. Anna's isolation grew as she became the target of gossip and intrigue. She developed severe agoraphobia, hiding in her apartments and turning to religion for solace. After 23 years of marriage, she gave birth to Louis XIV, the Sun King, followed by a second son, Philippe. But the physical and emotional toll of her struggles lingered. She suffered from digestive issues, respiratory problems, and melancholy attacks that left her bedridden. Anna died in 1666, her legacy overshadowed by her son's reign but marked by the silent suffering of a woman trapped by her genes and her role. Let's honor Anna's resilience. Like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to Empress Secrets. Comment below, how do you think Anna coped with such isolation? Your voice matters in this journey through history. Marie Antoinette, born in 1755, is best known for her role in the French Revolution, but her story is also tied to the Habsburg legacy of inbreeding. The daughter of Empress Maria Theresa and Francis I, her marriage to Louis XVI of France was meant to strengthen alliances. Subtle signs of the Habsburg jaw and hormonal imbalances hinted at her genetic burden. Her marriage was troubled from the start. For 7 years, it remained unconsummated, fueling rumors and scrutiny. Marie Antoinette suffered from severe menstrual problems, miscarriages, and prenatal depression, likely exacerbated by genetic factors. Her anxiety and mood swings, possibly rooted in Habsburg mental health vulnerabilities, made it hard to navigate the political storm of the French Revolution. Her impulsive decisions and emotional outbursts were painted as callousness, but they may have been symptoms of genetic predispositions triggered by stress. During her imprisonment and trial, Marie Antoinette showed courage but also signs of dissociative episodes, struggling to focus under pressure. Her execution in 1793 ended a life shaped by genetics and politics. Her story reminds us that even queens were victims of systems beyond their control. Let's keep her memory alive. Like, share, and subscribe to Empress Secrets. Comment below, what do you think her life would have been like without the pressures of royalty? Your support helps us uncover more hidden truths. The Spanish infantas of the late 17th and early 18th centuries represent the peak of Habsburg genetic catastrophe. These daughters and granddaughters of Charles II of Spain, himself so inbred he was impotent and possibly intellectually disabled, lived lives of unimaginable suffering. Charles II's genetic coefficient was higher than that of children born to siblings, a testament to centuries of inbreeding. Maria Margarita, born in 1651, showed severe developmental delays, unable to speak clearly until age 7. She exhibited signs of autism spectrum disorders, yet was married to her cousin Leopold I, a union marked by physical and emotional hardship. Her sister, Maria Theresa, suffered from epilepsy, respiratory problems, and a malformed jaw that restricted her to liquid foods. These women lived in the Alcazar of Madrid, a palace-turned-hospital, surrounded by physicians documenting their ailments: epilepsy, deformities, immune deficiencies, and psychiatric disorders. Despite their conditions, they were expected to marry and produce heirs. Marriage negotiations ignored their health, treating them as breeding stock. Letters between royal women reveal the heartbreak of miscarriages, infant deaths, and deformed children who couldn't survive. The psychological toll was immense. Many developed anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress, blaming themselves for their failures as mothers. Let's honor these forgotten infantas. Like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to Empress Secrets. Comment below, what strikes you most about their stories? Your engagement helps us keep their legacy alive. The Habsburgs weren't alone in their inbreeding practices. Other European royal families, driven by the same obsession with bloodline purity, faced similar tragedies. Catherine of Aragon, born in 1485, was the daughter of Isabella and Ferdinand, the same parents as Joanna of Castile. Her marriage to Henry VII of England was meant to solidify alliances, but her genetic inheritance complicated her role. She suffered multiple miscarriages and infant deaths, producing only one surviving child. Mary I. Her fertility struggles, likely influenced by inbreeding-related genetic issues, fueled Henry's quest for a male heir and led to the English Reformation. Catherine's life of piety and resilience was overshadowed by her failure to produce a son, a burden rooted in the genetic legacy of her family. Elizabeth of Valois, born in 1545, was another daughter of interconnected European royalty, married to Philip II of Spain. Her mother, Catherine de' Medici, and father, Henry II of France, were part of the same tangled web of cousin marriages. Elizabeth suffered from frail health and frequent miscarriages, dying at 23 during childbirth. Her delicate constitution and reproductive struggles mirror those of Habsburg women, showing that the genetic curse wasn't confined to one dynasty. These stories remind us that the tragedy of inbreeding spanned continents. If you're inspired to learn more, like, share, and subscribe to Empress Secrets. Comment below, have you heard of other royal women affected by these practices? Let's keep the conversation going. To fully grasp these women's stories, we must understand the genetic science behind their suffering. Inbreeding increases the likelihood of inheriting two copies of harmful recessive genes, which are normally masked in diverse populations. When cousins marry cousins for generations, as the Habsburgs did, these genes accumulate, leading to disorders like the Habsburg jaw, mandibular prognathism, epilepsy, intellectual disabilities, anxiety, depression, and immune deficiencies. The fertility problems that plagued these women, miscarriages, infant deaths, and deformed children, were direct results of genetic incompatibilities. Mental health issues, like those of Joanna and Marie Antoinette, were likely genetic predispositions triggered by stress. Modern genetics, built partly on studying these royal tragedies, shows why genetic diversity is crucial for human health. The system that perpetuated this suffering was relentless. Royal courts kept detailed records of health problems, yet continued arranging cousin marriages for political gain. Physicians documented deformities and illnesses, treating them as curiosities rather than warnings. The Catholic Church, which could have intervened, provided dispensations for closely related marriages, prioritizing divine bloodlines over human welfare. Even the women themselves, raised to believe in their superiority, sometimes sought these unions, unaware they were participating in their own genetic destruction. Each generation hoped their children would escape the curse, enduring pregnancy after pregnancy, only to face heartbreak. The Habsburg genetic experiment ended with Charles II of Spain, whose death in 1700 without heirs sparked the War of Spanish Succession. His impotence and possible intellectual disability were the final tragic endpoint of centuries of inbreeding. His death marked a slow recognition that royal inbreeding was unsustainable, and cousin marriages became less common as courts grasped the genetic risks. These women, Maria Anna, Joanna, Margaret Theresa, Anna, Marie Antoinette, the Spanish infantas, Catherine and Elizabeth, were victims of a system that valued political convenience over human welfare. Their pain, documented in court records, contributed to modern genetics, helping prevent similar tragedies. Their stories remind us of the dangers of treating people as means to an end, reducing women to their reproductive function. This dehumanization persists in various forms today, making their stories all the more relevant. Let's reflect on their resilience. Maria Anna found intellectual freedom in books. Joanna maintained fierce love despite her pain. Margaret Theresa bore her suffering with dignity. Anna found solace in faith. Marie Antoinette faced death with courage. Their stories are a testament to the human spirit's ability to assert its worth in the darkest circumstances. They also remind us of our responsibility to prioritize human welfare over political or cultural goals, ensuring such systematic suffering never happens again. As we close, return to that moment of terrible realization, waking up to discover your life was shaped by decisions made before your birth, by ancestors who valued bloodline purity over humanity. For these women, this was daily reality. They carried the weight of centuries of poor choices, yet found ways to assert their humanity. Their legacy is both tragic and redemptive. Tragic because their suffering was preventable, redemptive because it helped science understand the importance of genetic diversity. Please, let's keep their voices echoing through history. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear these stories, and subscribe to Empress Secrets. Comment below, what moved you most about these women's resilience? Your support ensures their sacrifices are remembered, their lessons learned, and their humanity honored. Together, we can ensure that true nobility lies not in genetic purity, but in the courage to acknowledge our common humanity. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Let's continue to uncover the secrets of history's empresses with Empress Secrets.